Today's dose of autism is a special one. Our source of this great elixir, this bountiful feast, is a little commentary community called the SCC. Talked about them a little bit in previous videos, but if you don't know who they are, they're a small community that mostly criticizes one another. Occasionally, though, they do talk about art commentary, or I guess you could say main commentary drama. Think of a group of retards who try to do the tiniest of nitpicks to videos that are often hypocritical, and then use a "I may be a hypocrite, but I'm not wrong" argument. Now this group has several of its own autistic adventures, but the one we're going to discuss today happened just last week. Today we examine a hissy fit from their community, why it happened, and just what that hissy fit means. For context, Mr. Enter did a review on Turning Red that had a controversial reaction. Someone by the name of Alex the Critic did a commentary defending Mr. Enter and talked about the situation. The SCC, the realm comprised mostly of carbon copies of doodle tones, didn't respond to it well, subtweeting about their dislike of Alex's video, whilst not mentioning directly whose video it was, including Doodletones, who said it just might end up on his Worst of the Year series. Some of the SCC even appeared in the comments to criticize the video, such as Dwebley, who now goes by Toganinium. Man, you really like to drag out points. And finishing with, that's what this video is. Deflection, obvious bias, and excuses for someone who had a bizarre take. An SCC member criticizing others for dragging out points. Now that's adorable. The SCC definitely aren't known for that same thing. Now, Doodles was mentioned 2 or 3 times in some of the comment threads, and he took it to Twitter to make a long thread about Alex having double standards. PSA, if you're going to make some sort of statement about how subtweeting doesn't require any integrity, because you're not going to someone directly about their points, maybe don't do it in a subtweeting fashion, almost as if that's a double standard or something. Now, I could get into the irony of Doodletones saying that that's a double standard, among many other hypocritical things that he's done, but I've done that before. If you'd like to know more about that fatherless individual, I made a previous video talking about him. This is where the Tism storm begins. Several people from the SCC tried to call Alex a hypocrite while ignoring 2 important things. One, Alex's priority issue was the fact he wasn't brought up by name, that instead he was subtweeted about. What's even more cowardly is that they don't even say your name when complaining about your video on Twitter, like a certain transgender individual whose name starts with D did not too long ago. 2, Doodletones was name dropped in the discussion in all instances of the conversation, so people definitely knew who we were discussing in the comment thread. In comes the best part. Now, Alex made a tweet going over why he deemed Dwebley dishonest, as an example of how some in the SCC were dishonest. What a great notification to receive from my work. As if my stress levels didn't get worse, I now have to deal with Biden enforcing some bullshit, where now my job is going to require every employee to be vaccinated, despite some of us not wanting to get vaccinated. Thanks, Biden. Fuck you. Now, this was January 14th. Dwebley, also known as Toganinium now, responded with, "Cosmic is an anti-vaxxer. Pass it on." Imagine thinking that being against vaccine mandates makes you anti-vaxxer. And people wonder why I hate the dishonest folks in the SCC. They responded with defenses of Dwebley's joke. It's not like Cosmic literally said, despite some of us not wanting to be vaccinated. Oh wait, she did. Let's take a look at the quote retweets, where the wicked 10 ratios took place. Some great takes from Limbo Fazframe. I'm guessing you're also against washing your hands when working at a restaurant or health clinic. Wait a second, that's odd. Where did that go? This tweet was deleted by the tweet author. Why? Surely they didn't realize how fucking retarded that was. It doesn't stop there, folks. It gets better. So does that mean I should drive on the sidewalk, damning the consequences in whether someone gets hit? Or, Raven Pines, I do not want to see your ass saying shit about vaccines causing autism. I am autistic, and I know that you are drinking from the stupid people Kool-Aid. Oh, and for the record, don't label people disliking your video as slimy and dishonest pieces of shit. Nobody wants to join your stupid pity party. Just wanted you to be aware of that, who would later drop this absolute banger. Chillax, bro, it's just a disagreement. Okay, imagine a scenario where you are at church with your parents, and your pastor preaches about how child marriage is the way of God. You're disgusted by that scenario and speaking out against it only to hear it's a disagreement. That's right, folks. If you say it's just a disagreement to defend someone choosing not to get vaccinated, that's like saying it's just a disagreement to fucking child marriage. One of the things to take away from this is that they mention that they're autistic, and I think that we can definitely see that. Boonslayer, another SCC commentator, had this to say. Oh, by the way, you know what else is a sign of being an anti-vaxxer? Saying you don't want to take the vaccine, and people wonder why they don't want to land on my plate. This is coming from the same guy who couldn't answer a simple question and instead blocked me. What words did he put in Dwebley's mouth? Oh, cool. I finally get to see you try and start this shit with me. I've been told about you. Enjoy the block and report for ban evasion. Wow, he sure showed me. A simple question and he ran off, but he wants to talk about people not wanting to land on his plate? Who is worried about being in a drama or on the plate of this fucking Discord mod? Wait, I get it now. I understand what he's trying to say. I understand the warning that he's trying to tell us. If they land on his plate, he just might fucking eat them. I mean, look at this goddamn glutton. Look at this. My brother in Christ, Cosmic was literally complaining about having to get vaccinated. I don't get what I did wrong. I called a black person the N-word. All of a sudden I'm called a racist? Fuck America, man. I mean, what else are we supposed to take from a tweet saying my work is forcing us to get a vaccine, and how that is seemingly making Cosmic stress worse than it already was? It'd be one thing if she said the vaccine wasn't readily available in her area or some other thing. If those particular mandates, those regarding vaccines, and you or someone else are against them, then in this case you'd be seen as an anti-vaxxer. By the way, Toga doesn't represent the whole SCC. Also, don't know where you're getting dishonesty from Toga's tweet. He is right. From Fractured Light. Okay, so first off, using one person as an example for the entire SCC to call us all dishonest. Second off, assuming dishonesty when it could just be Toganinia making a bad point without malice. Thirdly, tweet from January that Toga may not stand by to call an entire community full of dishonest folks. Fourthly, that's even if you want to call it a bad point, since anti-vaxxers are just people against vaccines. So even if she had the vaccine, she'd still be defending anti-vaxxers. Like, not even for any reason, just because some don't want it. Not even that they can't get it. If anybody is being dishonest here, it's you. Oh, also, love your wording, imagine thinking. So does Toga think it, or is he intentionally being dishonest? Pick one. I want to pay special attention to Dwebley's quote retweet. If you're working a job and you don't have the vaccine, then of course a mandate would be put up. You don't have to like it, but the alternative, an environment where employees can potentially get sick, is much worse. Also, you can't use me, one cherry-picked example, as a way to make an entire community look bad. If you want to prove that the SEC, a community, is dishonest, you're going to need more examples. Now, I'm not saying that one example is inherently a bad thing, but one example will not prove a point when the point is about a community, a group. By the way, my original reply was a joke. The over-exaggeration in and of itself was the joke. Perhaps a joke with a point, I made my stance on mandates clear, but a joke nonetheless. Only for an hour later for him to say, okay, I think I misinterpreted the original point. Alex used me as an example of one of the dishonest folks in the SCC. He wasn't trying to make a grandiose statement about the whole community. My bad, everyone. Three main arguments are made. One, defending Dwebley's joke and arguing anti-mandate means you're anti-vax. Two, Dwebley was joking. Three, you can't use one example of the SEC being dishonest to say that all of them are dishonest. But several of the SEC have defended Dwebley's joke as a legitimate point, including himself. So which is it? Is Alex wrong because it's a joke, or do you guys actually believe that? They've made what they believe very clear. This is what we call inconsistency. A prime example is Fractured Light, who acknowledged it was a joke from Dwebley, but also tried to argue the same take. Their counter to Alex is, it's a joke, you can't use that to represent us all, and yet many of them are defending the joke and arguing the same point. Wrap your heads around this. The denial of Alex being right, that it was just a joke, that he can't use one example to say they're all dishonest, and then they provide Alex more examples of them being dishonest by defending and arguing for Dwebley's point, the same point that was supposedly a joke. These people are arguing that being against the mandate means you're against the vaccine. The thing Alex said was dishonest because it is, and why he disliked the dishonest folks in the community. Apparently, though, Alex is wrong about Dwebley being dishonest, about some of them being dishonest. It's just a joke, but Dwebley and the SEC stand behind the joke as a legitimate point. Yes, this is real. This is the state of the slideshow commentary community. A motherload of autism, tripping over each other and themselves on Twitter while trying to crush any criticism towards them. This is what we call desperacy, a desperate attempt to shut Alex's point down and tell him he's wrong, while at the same time proving his very point to begin with, and providing him more examples. In saying, you can't say that we're all dishonest because you only have one example, they then give him more examples. How fucking retarded does a group of people have to be to do something like that. I hope you're still following along with this Tism storm, because we haven't reached the icing of the shit cake just yet. There's even more dishonesty. Shocker. These same people are also misrepresenting Alex's point, whether it be claiming Alex is upset and starting drama with them over them not liking his video, or that he's claiming all of the SCC are dishonest. What was his words again? And people wonder why I hate the dishonest folks in the SCC. Now, how many people tried to say that he was saying all of the SCC were dishonest? By the way, Toga doesn't represent the whole SCC. Using one person as an example for the entire SCC you can't use to call us all dishonest. One cherry-picked example as a way to make an entire community look bad. Well, that's odd. Yes, the SCC who hopped on this like a bitch in heat, all trying to tell him that he's wrong, but no, it's Alex, the one guy they're trying to ratio. He's the one with the immature reaction. He's the one starting the drama, not the several people coming to Crusade all because he made a point about them. All because he made a point saying that there was dishonest people in their community. And this isn't the only time the SCC has done this little formula of theirs, where they deny a point, they deny a criticism, prove it right, and then misrepresent the main point. Ironically, they constantly do this when trying to defend doodle tones. This all happened because the SCC got uppity that someone dare upset and criticize their king, and themselves, for subtweeting and being dishonest. They rushed to try and pull a gotcha on Alex, to try and ratio him, and embarrass themselves with the leaps of fucking mental gymnastics. It's the community's reaction to a criticism that they don't like, but can't really produce a counter-argument for. Their counter-argument tactic to Alex's point of dishonesty is the very dishonesty he was talking about, to deny, accidentally prove, and misrepresent the whole point to begin with. I dealt with it in 2020 and in 2021, and now Alex has experienced it in 2022. Think of these as the final death throes from a sickly, dying, niche little community centered around a diaper-loving man-child and his fragile ego.